Hey, my name is Max. Welcome to the studio. And today, I thought we'd celebrate 100 subscribers, dude. I'm particularly stoked about this because we've passed the point where I definitely don't know everybody that's subscribed to me. And that's a pretty hard hurdle to get over, man. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my music. I really appreciate it. So to celebrate this, I thought I would show you my studio and a little bit about my process and everything that I've been up to. So without further ado, let's get into it. Right on. So first up, we have the Yamaha CP70B electric grand piano. What's neat about this is it is a real grand piano with pickups in it, and it's had some things done to it to make it lighter. It breaks into two suitcases and the legs screw off. So it's portable and it maintains tune. And at the time, it was one of your only options other than a Wurlitzer or a Rhodes for having a piano live, unless you had the wallet to get a tuner to tune it. I mean, maybe even a couple times before you go on. Humidity's nasty on pianos, man. But this guy can take it. There's no wooden soundboard. It's just, it's quiet in the room. I'll put some room sound right here. It's not usable acoustically, although you could probably mic it if you wanted to. Where it really shines is with a little chorus and a little bit of reverb. Some famous bands that would have played on this would be like Journey even Don't Stop Believin', this lick, you know. Michael McDonald used one for a little while. There's a video of him doing Keep This Train A-Rollin' in California. He's just rocking on this thing, man. But Michael McDonald and especially Wolfpack kind of opened my eyes to this instrument, especially as a funk instrument because it has such a particular sound to it. Like, check it out, man. Got a cool sound, man. Scratchy. So this is a weird one, okay? Bear with me here. This is a Yamaha CP20, okay? This wood-paneled beast here. This is a piano and harpsichord synthesizer, and on first approach, it sounds like a toy, okay? Like, here's just the piano sound. I just have this going through a little amp on a Fender Twin setting. But it's like, here's, piano 1. So, I mean, it's very DX-y, Piano 2. Almost sounds like a sax or something, and then harpsichord. And harpsichord 2, of course. Now, another thing you can do with this is it has tremolo, Let me get the intensity up here. So that's kind of neat. But where it really shines, and part of where this is going, I promise, is you can actually balance the mix between the harpsichord and piano sound. So I can do something like piano 1, harpsichord 1 and 2. And I heard that, and I was like, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like a clavinet. So I took an Ibanez wah and hooked it in. Check this out. Up next is the Behringer Poly D. It's right behind me here. This is a copy of the Moog Model D, and it's pretty sweet. It's an analog synthesizer, and you have to tune it, but it can make these really interesting sounds. I really dig it. I'll just kind of play around with it a little bit for you. Right on. So next up we have the Wurlitzer 200A. This is an electric piano, so it has hammers and everything inside, but instead of strings it uses metal reeds. It's different from a Rhodes in its sound and timbre, and it's been used by a lot of really famous bands, really almost anybody you can think of, especially around the 60s, 70s time frame. Anybody from Bob Dylan to Supertramp. Supertramp, honestly, I'd consider it the most important sound in their entire arsenal for making making it sound Supertramp. Here's a little example. This is just with a little verb on it. It also comes in with a built-in vibrato. I've actually purchased an aftermarket that allows you to change the speed as well, because these were kind of locked to just a bum 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 kind of thing, and that's pretty useful. But it's nice to be able to adjust it with the song, or maybe to get different effects. Here's that. I've noticed it kind of cuts the gain a little bit, so usually I'll leave myself a little room to turn up if I'm going to use that. Yeah. So this right here, this is the Yamaha DX7, and this can be kind of a like it or hate it kind of thing. This is one of the first digital synths, and it also uses FM synthesis, which is kind of like phasing two sawtooths together to change how they're shaped. It's really interesting. It's really difficult to program, and it's got some cool sounds and some not cool sounds. But altogether, it's really interesting. It's nice to have around. Let's check out some of the patches, shall we? Here's Brass 1. It's got a nice aftertouch. Great action on this keyboard, too, as well. Very sensitive aftertouch. You can... Brass 2. It's kind of a more plucky, decayed kind of thing. Brass 3. I like this one. Here's strings 2. It's kind of like a phased string. That's all right. E piano 1. This is supposed to emulate like a Rhodes kind of thing, a tying instrument. Clav 1. This one's really interesting. I'm kind of on the fence about this one. So that's well and good. It sounds a little funky. Vibes? That's great. That's great. Marimba? I dig that. I'll probably use that later. orchestra. I like that a lot. Then we've got voice. Cool. Train. And that's the DX7. If you'd like to see somebody go a little deeper on it, go check out Dr. Mix. He's got some cool videos on it. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the Rhodes. This is the Fender Rhodes. This is a Mark I, one of the late models of the Mark I. There were a couple different models that came out, the various accessories and changes to the construction and pieces and everything. This is a stage model, so it comes with legs instead of the console. Truthfully, I probably would prefer the console one, but we'll get to that in a minute. What sets this apart from the other pianos is this has tines inside of it, kind of long metal rods that oscillate in front of a pickup. And that oscillation is the sound that you're getting out of your amp. The other pianos, like the Wurlitzer, they use the reeds, or in the Yamaha's case, it is just a physical piano with pickups on it. These are really modifiable. You can really cater them to your tastes, just in pretty much whatever way you want, as far as like how hard the action plays, how distorted the sound is, how loud it is, the dynamic range. You can make a lot of adjustments. Me personally, because I like the console version of this a little better, the EQ that comes with the stage is not to my taste. It's a little too muddy. So what I've done is I've tapped the harp with an RCA cable. There's just an RCA connection that comes off all of the pickups. And I put it in this 10-band EQ by MXR. This gives me a little gain and volume to mess with, and lets me shape the tone a little better. But I found that this does not give me that kind of gross, muddy thing. So as you can see, it's got a really cool sound to it. Something you might also be familiar with is like some Michael McDonald stuff. Or Steely Dan, they put a phaser on it a lot. So here it is with phaser. Mike's falling. example of the phaser. But that's the Rhodes. That's one of my favorite ones to mess with for sure. Let's move on. This right here, this is one of my favorite things that I own. This is the Leslie rotating speaker cabinet. Basically what this is two speakers, one pointing down and one pointing up, one for the bass, one for the high frequencies, and they exit through these spinning, like a drum and some horns. It has 2 speeds on this one. Some of them have a middle speed, stop. This one just has slow and fast. It's a 147. And what you do is you use these on organs. So this is just recording with one small diaphragm condenser. You can record these all sorts of ways. 1 on the bottom, 2 on top, 2 on top, 1 on top, 45 degrees off, far away, close. I mean, they're really interesting to mic, and I think it's a great way to practice miking because it's really been great for me. Just kind of learning about, learning to hear that kind of thing, But I mean, they just have such a cool sound to them, man, like... So yeah, that thing rocks, man. So this is the Yamaha PSR 630. This is an arranger keyboard from my childhood. Right now it's being held together with gaff tape and hope. But originally my dad used this when he was playing around, and he used it for something that you wouldn't expect, though. It has a floppy drive underneath here, and he would use that to play his program tracks and everything. I'm not sure how it all worked out back then. But after he retired it from that, he brought it home, and it's one of the first instruments I was playing on. And I used to bash the hell out of this thing. It has a thunder sound in it. I used to just do all kinds of stuff, but it was great fun. And it's got a lot of great sounds in it, even for being what it is. I've actually used the strings on it for my song What People Say. One of them that I really dig is this one. This is kind of like a Doorsy thing going on here, like a transistor organ. I think it sounds pretty good. So, I've shown you most of the cool stuff down here. The last thing I want to show you is the most important part, and that's the keystone of the rig, the X32 rack-mounted mixer. Now, what I use this for is a recording interface. It can take up to 32 channels at a time, but I'm using 16. I guess we can just start from bottom to top, and we'll try to make sense of what's going on here. So basically, on the bottom here, I have a splitter by Seismic Audio. We were using that for in-ears. At the moment, I'm only using one of the snakes, but a splitter just takes one signal and turns it into two. Okay? This can take XLR or quarter-inch directly into the input. The top 8 channels go directly to the X32. The bottom 8 channels go to the patch bay and then to the X32. A patch bay, in a nutshell, is something that allows you to patch something into an effect and back out without having to go behind and manually change it yourself, like every time. It saves your I/O on your gear, and it really has a good workflow for like being creative. Like for instance, on let's say channel 10 is my Rhodes. In essence, I take the input, it cuts off the input to the X32, and now it's coming out of this. I plug this in to the input on the pedals on top here, right? Because on my Rhodes, I want a phaser and a reverb, and I've got a phaser and a reverb in line right here. Okay, so now it's coming out here, it's going through here, into the pedals, out the pedal. Now it's coming out of this. I take this, plug it into the bottom of channel 10, and now the signal is going out of here, into the pedals, out of the pedals, into here, into the X32. Here we have a compressor that I've been using by Warm Audio. Sounds great. Here we have a preamp that I'm using for the Wurlitzer. It's like a tube preamp just to get the signal going out. And on top we have the X32. And that is essentially the whole flow here. And what this allows me to do is I can have everything on at the same time. And as I'm getting an idea, I can patch different effects through without having to tear everything down. It's really a simple setup, and I just run it into Pro Tools and just use Pro Tools as a tape machine because I don't use MIDI. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed getting to see some of the stuff that I'm working with here. We can probably break down some of the gear further a little later. If you want to see anything in particular, let me know in the comments. Right now, we just started work on the next album. I'm getting together with some of the musicians this weekend, and we're going to go ahead and start tracking. However, I'm going to be releasing this one a little differently. The last time I was doing a spaced release, one of the songs every few weeks. This one we're going to do all at once in a more traditional way, as a full album, so it can be nice and cohesive, you know. So if you haven't heard my first album, you can check it out right here. Thank you for watching.